Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is capital punishment in Tennessee, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about capital punishment in Tennessee, attorney Larry Woods. Attorney Woods is a partner in the law firm of LWoods1, as well as a professor in the Department of Criminal Justice at Tennessee State University. And of course, Dr. Woods, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. It's a pleasure to be here.
And tell you how delighted we are to have you here this morning to talk about what we consider to be a very, very timely and a very, very important topic, and that is capital punishment in the state of Tennessee. And also to mention, Dr. Woods, that we think that we're extremely fortunate because we've got a teacher with us today, you see, and we know that you're a teacher because I think you won the Teacher of the Year Award at Tennessee State University. And
yes, sir.
And of course, I also teach at Tennessee State University, so we've got a teacher here with us to talk about capital punishment.
I appreciate that. I'll try to just talk rather than lecture, but...
We'll appreciate that. You know, Dr. Woods, what we'd like to do, though, is to talk about capital punishment, but before we get into that, let's talk about you, to have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of your career, and eventually leading you into law and eventually leading you into this area of the death penalty, and then we'll talk about some of the other topics today.
Well, I tell everybody that I wound up in the legal profession as a lawyer because my mother was the best cross-examiner and still is the best cross-examiner I've ever known. My mother raised myself and two older brothers after my father died. We grew up here in Nashville, and my brother Frank, who's 3.5 years older than I am, went to law school, and I think that was what motivated me more than anything to go to law school. I was very active at an early age, and college age primarily, in the modern civil rights movement. I participated with thousands of others with Dr. King and the SCLC and the other organizations in Georgia and Alabama, as well as Chicago, where I went to law school. And an important part of that movement in the 1960s was the racism that was imbued throughout the criminal justice system at that time. So it got me interested in how does the criminal justice process work, how should it work, and I think those factors are probably what led me eventually to go to Northwestern University School of Law in Chicago, and after working for the Legal Aid Society out of law school, I started my own law firm here in Nashville about 30 years ago, and I'm still at it hard every day.
Very good. You know, Dr. Woods, one of the things that we know that you're known for, not only are you one of the foremost death penalty defendants in the state of Tennessee, but you're known nationally for that. Let's talk about the death penalty from the point of view of having you to, first of all, talk about the death penalty itself, and which is to say that you know what our audience ought to know in reference to this and the issues that are involved. Let's talk about it from that perspective, from your perspective.
38 states today authorize the death penalty for first-degree murder, as does the federal government. 12 states do not allow for a death penalty. They have life without parole or something similar. Tennessee and the other 37 states and federal government authorize capital punishment only for first-degree murder, and they do it in a two-part trial. Anyone arrested and charged with the death penalty for murder, first they will receive a trial with a jury as to whether they're guilty of the murder. And if they are guilty of the murder, then there'll be a second phase or stage to the trial where the same jury then hears evidence, both from the prosecution and the defense, as to whether the penalty should be the death penalty or life without parole. That way each side gets an opportunity to make an argument to the jury as to what's most appropriate or proper as punishment under the circumstances. As a result, today across the United States, there are more than 3,000 defendants on death row across the country awaiting execution. Most of these cases take years and years to finish the appeals because, of course, it's the most awesome punishment we can impose. So the court system doesn't want to make any mistakes here. It's irrevocable. We execute somebody, we can't go back 5 years later, like keeps happening in Illinois, for example. In Illinois, some 7, I think, of the last 10 scheduled executions have been put off because 7 of those last 10 men have been freed from prison. They were mistakenly convicted. The system is very concerned that we not wrongly execute someone. And that's not to ignore that people who have committed murders have committed a heinous